How bad do you think they're gonna mess up Metal Gear Solid 3 remaster now?
Bad? I
Bad.
I have very little faith in modern day Konami to produce anything that is decent or even close to the original magic of of you know
Yeah.
its introductory title. Um, yeah, that Silent Hills, or I guess it's not called Silent Hills. It's the Silent Hill 2 remake is looking not, or people are not happy with that. Uh, yeah, I feel like Metal Gear Solid Delta, whatever it's being called, I think it's just going to be, I don't know, either it's just going to be a Coda Polish remake
Right.
or they're going to completely lose what made that game original.
I like as cool as it would be to have like new content in any Metal Gear game, right?
Hmm.
Without I mean probably any of the original staff. It just seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, like
I don't know
I
who all is still at Konami, but
that's what I'm saying. They're well, and I'm pretty sure they've outsourced whatever. I mean, who's
yeah.
really doing the in-house Konami development at this point? But I'm pretty sure whoever they're outsourcing it to is, like I said, they could do an okay job, or they could just
Right.
completely remake something that and lose the DNA of what
If yeah,
it
I mean if
originally
they
is.
gave it to like a really good um like I guess not necessarily smaller studio, but there definitely have been a lot of studios in recent years that wonderful have done a wonderful job working on other people's IPs. But
Yeah, like
I I mean I just don't even see Konami really doing that, right?
no, not at
Or
all.
or that even really being a thing that I can think of example wise that like the Japanese industry is set up for to like find another studio to kind of like some sort of independent studio to work on
Right?
Metal
Yeah.
Gear or
No, Konami tries to get money. That's what they want. They want money. That's why they turn
right.
everything they have into a freaking slot machine. They that's why they didn't work to repair the relationship with Kojima. That's why Silent Hill is dead in the water until this remake was announced. They just that's what they do. They just they make things to make money, and so
Why
everything that they
Yu-Gi-Oh
release
sucks now?
sucks. Huh. I wouldn't know, but yeah, exactly.
I'm a big nerd, folks.
I mean, I am too. I just card games do not work with my ADHD or
Yeah,
whatever else I got going on in this brain of mine.
yeah. I
I
mean, there's a
forget
lot
the
of things.
rules.
Yeah, you have to play consistently, and right, and then you need people to play with consistently.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
helped when I played with like Steven every single day,
yeah.
right? I mean,
And
then it
you can
was
go to your
super
old
fun and great.
local card shop if you have the time.
Do those exist anymore?
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple. Um, yeah, in an effort to find retro video games in my
Is there
past.
any where it just isn't Magic? I mean, I guess you can find anything anywhere, but
Yeah, I'm
Magic's
sure
always going
I'm
to be
sure
the
somebody would
predominant.
take a break from Magic to break out the old Yu-Gi-Oh decks, and then I know Pokemon is has risen back in popularity or whatnot. I don't know. I don't.
Well,
It's
yeah, I mean that's true, but well, I would be interested in playing like the actual card game, right?
for
But
Pokemon.
yeah, for
Yeah,
Pokemon.
yeah.
But the card games in general are and will always be a massive money sink as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just massive. And Pokemon's probably even even worse than that, but there is a chance for you to get a major return on your investment, right? Because the trading or the
Like
selling
stocks.
is just
Yeah,
boomed.
absolutely. Welcome back, everyone, to the Nerding Grounds podcast. This is a show about video games, new and old. And today, it'll also be about video game hardware, specifically controllers, because we're going to be ranking controllers from mostly the main ones, from the original NES to modern day PS5 and all that stuff. So,
So,
that'll be coming shortly. Before we jump into our controller ranking system, do you want to go over anything you've played recently?
so I actually decided to check out a game that's been on my radar since it came out, like I don't know how long ago, but I've been playing uh Detroit Become Human. Is that
Oh
the
yeah, the
yeah?
Quantic Quantic Dream,
Yeah,
David
like
Cage Studio. Yeah,
Heavy Rain, all that good stuff.
yeah.
Um,
I've watched a play. I haven't played through it myself, but I've watched a playthrough.
yeah, I was always Heavy Rain was amazing, right? Um, I don't know. Yeah, Heavy Rain was amazing. I don't know why I didn't pick up this game like immediately when it first came out, just because, or why I was so hesitant for so long. But I guess it,
I feel like because that studio started garnering a lot of negative reception,
yeah, I guess that's what it was.
that Beyond Two Souls game was okay. Like it was very divisive. Some
Right,
people liked it, some people thought it was weak. And then there was a lot of drama around Detroit Become Human because of the comparison to, I guess, like the racial element of it, where during a time where that message was maybe not handled with the most care. And yeah,
yeah.
basically this whole
Um,
androids are human, or are androids human question that
yeah.
has been asked time and time again.
Um, and I don't know exactly how to get into that whole thing, right? Yeah, I definitely remember
Yeah,
there
yeah.
being just a lot of maybe hate or just general dislike of the company around when it came out. Not to mention PCs at the time probably were having a hard time because that game still looks gorgeous
It does.
even now,
The
right?
facial animations are really, really solid.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like, let's just make this top notch just because we can, right? And we probably should,
Yeah.
and it delivers a more immersive experience. Um, I mean, I will just say this: leave it to whatever that studio is. I don't remember to make something like cleaning a house is one of the most interesting things in gaming. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you're sitting there, yeah, you're an android, and you're literally tasked to clean up a house by an abusive father. You instantly kind of uh, can gather that he basically destroyed the robot previously because he got mad and went off the handle.
Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely some, very heavy-handed abusive dad situations in that opening,
yeah,
because you're controlling three or
three different.
so
Yeah.
people. Yeah, and
Now
it goes back and forth.
I think when the game does that, I think it is emotionally impactful,
Hmm.
and it that's definitely that type of gameplay at its best. Like you got a lot of that from like Heavy Rain. It's been so long since I've played the game, but basically as the uh is you're like the father, right? You're trying to look for
You play multiple people in Heavy Rain too.
right.
You're the dad, the
Yeah,
agent, and
yeah,
then the cop slash something else.
yeah. Um, it similar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like obviously, like the moments when the dad are very impactful, right? And then the moments with when you're playing as like the cop, the investigator, that stuff's super
The
cool.
Android
Yeah,
investigator, yeah.
yeah. And I meant like in relates to Heavy Rain in this one, same
Yeah.
thing. Now there obviously is this overarching storyline that is about android sentience and all that good
Mhm.
stuff. I mean, I think like it is probably even more relevant now, right? Like more and more relevant to think about these type of things. Sci-fi, of course, but
Yeah, with
um,
the AI discussion and how
yeah,
things
yeah,
are, yeah.
evolving, and it. I think it goes about bringing up these topics in a more realistic way, at least in the first couple of hours of the game. But I do feel like the more and more it like kind of devolves into that, like you have this one character, Marcus, and that's his whole thing. It's like right from the get go. Of course, there's different choices. Your choices matter. I don't know exactly how far my current path deviates from others as far as Marcus go, but like pretty early on, you wind up basically started to just um, starting to lead this group of deviants, as they call them, but androids that have become
Yeah.
sentient. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
I don't want to give anything away because I have the playthrough, at least I watched, definitely didn't stray away from uh, you know, escalating
right,
things. And so I saw a pretty chaotic pathway. The cool thing is they do at the end of chapters show you a branching of everything that you could have done, or different
yeah,
divergences you could have made. And that's
yeah.
appreciated. I like
Without
seeing
spoiling anything, yeah, it
without,
shows you like the different
because it hides it, but it
outcomes.
gives you an idea of the spider web of outcomes that you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, I,
I
I
really like that
find the
too.
game a little overwrought in places, and
Yeah,
you know, it's like, okay, calm down for a second. Let's just, but I still found it enjoyable.
yeah. It is. Uh, well, to my point, of even bringing that up, that sort of stuff, I can't say I like so far. It's like it's okay
Hmm.
comparably to the stuff that's going on with like Kara and the child. Like that stuff's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
crazy, always intense, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
I'm really into that gameplay. Um, and then of course, the stuff with the investigator. I mean, that's even better because you can kind of see he's like top of the line, newest android, investigating like these different cases involving
And he's
the
got his hard
deviants.
boiled partner
Yeah, he's got
to
like
deal with. Yeah.
deal with, and then he kind of like by making decisions, he kind of starts to um, discover his own sentience, I guess.
Unless you play him as a psychopath,
Right.
then he's
Unless you play him
just,
as a psychopath.
which I did see, and it was pretty enjoyable. He's just a
Yeah.
full on dead android.
Definitely seems like you can really go like with Kara. I feel like I'm always on knife's edge, and she could actually like die, or something
Yeah,
could
yeah,
happen to like the child that you're protecting. Um,
yeah.
and then with the investigate, yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like it can just be like, I am robot, or you can start to be like more and more human, I guess.
What does humanity mean?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then there's Marcus, which is just like here's I guess the big plot of the entire game, but
the robot
uh,
revolution.
yeah, like bum rushed, I guess. Very obvious too. It's like so far.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, do I make decisions that will probably wind up being more aggressive and lead to more dangerous situations where I kill or hurt humans or other
Right, right.
robots, right?
Yeah.
Or do I be more passive? I don't know.
Let's say we get on to our main event.
Yeah.
Here we are at the video game controller ranking corner.
Yeah.
I always have to name
Name pending.
everything. I always have to name everything like an idiot.
Yeah, I don't.
Um,
Does it have to be a corner? Right.
Everything's a corner. I should have been
Space.
a I apparently should have been a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah, probably so.
Are you ready to rank the video game controllers of our lifetime?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So we did a S through F list and looking like we have everything. Here, let's see what we have.
That's an E.
Got
Do
that's
we
an
want an
E.
F?
Yeah, we do F. This is
Yeah.
school grading.
Okay. It,
So
it it bothered me. I mean, of course, we got S at top, but I had F, and I was like, well, that's not right.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that the why is there an F there?
Why is
Why
there
is
an
it
F?
not an E? I don't understand.
Do you want to just go in random order?
And see, here's the thing: your mind tells you because F, right, is like for fail, of course.
Yeah.
But but we naturally use that for every sort of grading system
Yeah.
ever,
Yeah.
you know.
It's true.
Uh and we do that because it's just so ingrained in our mind at this
It's
point.
so ingrained in our minds that failure is always hanging directly above our heads.
Yeah. But is
Yeah.
any controller actually a failure?
Let's find out.
Okay.
Maybe there is.
Okay, right off the bat, fat Xbox controller, original Xbox controller, S tier.
You're starting
Yeah.
with the Duke.
Yeah.
Is that definitely the Duke? That's not
I
the
hope I hope so. That might just be the original, like the regular one. It's hard to tell scale
let's
from here.
let's call it the Duke. I think the Duke needs to be on this list.
All right, yeah. So Duke, if we're talking about the original Xbox controller, we're talking about the Duke.
I'll
And
give the Duke points for coming up with the offset thumbsticks.
yeah, agreed.
I think that was important. Um, I'm not even sure that that's my most preferred form of controller with the offset thumbsticks. I like a D-pad that I can actually use and not just it be there for options, because once you put the D-pad down there, it's useless for
Right.
character control. It's done. Um, but there was definitely some stuff. I think that is the Duke because the white and black buttons are above the face buttons. And I
Yeah.
think later on they changed that to be lower, but I
I
can't
don't
remember.
remember. Yeah, I can't remember. That was a long time ago.
Either way,
Um,
I say we put that on C due to the massive freaking size of that thing and how no one could really use it.
it made no sense to be that big.
It
Like
made no sense.
none at all, right? It's just what was the point? I will say one thing, if you look like when you really think about it, the catacornered um uh face buttons
Yeah,
are actually such a better
it kind of makes sense.
idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is like way more ergonomic, especially if I had to tap two buttons so at once or consecutive buttons, right? With
Mm-hmm.
like just my thumb. That makes so much more sense, I
It'd be
think.
really good for like a like a hack and slashy
Yeah,
thing.
hack and slash or fighting game, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And I do like the feel of the original thumbsticks. Like the right one
Yeah,
had that kind of dome-ish thing going on. Well, I believe the left one was concave. I don't know. I haven't held a original Xbox controller in a very
it's
long
been a
time.
while. It's been a while. Well, one thing like I can even sort of remember now is the triggers were good and bad. They were weighty, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It took a while to like push them all the way in. I feel like if it had more like pressure sensitive type
Mm.
of features, especially
Yeah.
in games, it would have been nice. But they felt good to like in Halo to just
Oh, yeah.
press
Yeah.
it all the way down and start unloading on a machine gun
And it was
with the
one of
assault
the
rifle.
really, really early examples of a analog trigger,
Yeah.
which I'm trying to remember what the exact I wrote an article on this a long time ago and I can't remember what I in my research determined what the first analog trigger was. because the
Okay.
PlayStation 2 didn't even have them. GameCube had,
Well,
I
yeah.
guess it was the GameCube technically, because GameCube had that like that
Yeah.
click once you pushed all the way in. But yeah, I don't know. We good with C for that one?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that really holds it back, I mean, it was sturdy too, right? I feel like there was always some cord fraying,
You could
especially.
beat someone to death with that.
Yeah. But, the only thing that holds it back is just too big. Too big. Even the
Too
original one.
big. Too big. Um, didn't the original Xbox controller have that detachable cable?
Was it? Or
I
was
think that
that
was
360?
I thought that was the original Xbox.
Maybe so, which I always found to be kind of weird.
I like it. For all
Yeah.
the, I mean, people don't really deal with it these days, but for all of the wired controller throwing and flailing that we did back
Yeah.
in the day, that was pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah, it
rip
was.
your entire console out of the entertainment center onto the floor. And God forbid if you did that with an Xbox, it's done. I know it looked beefy, but those things did not last.
Yeah. No.
Ah,
Actually, from that point on, I'm going to put an F tier in every goddamn Xbox controller for this series. Why? I've gone through like 4 or 5 of those things in my lifetime.
you're talking about
There's
Xbox One?
no, 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 like 360,
Oh,
1X, doesn't matter. Whatever they're
mm,
on, XSFBX, I don't know. I
yeah.
mean, I should know. I basically do know, but uh,
No,
they
I'm there with
break.
you.
They're
They
cheap.
break.
They break.
I'm there with you, Cowboy. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay,
We'll get
sorry.
there.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's fine. I get it. I get you are hungry and yeah.
Yeah, I want the world to know that I think that these things are shit. All
But
right.
there's some merit. Let's talk about a Nintendo controller, and I'm gonna say let's go with the original NES.
Okay. Look, can I say one more thing?
What?
I feel like the one of the major contributing factors to people around our age having carpal tunnel um, is because of Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do ergonomics at
They
all.
they don't, but damn it, do they do buttons?
They do buttons. I don't really like their triggers though, ever. Like, especially they
Mm,
did like I hate the GameCube triggers.
we'll
But
get there. We'll get there.
all right, I'm sorry. I can't.
But for the NES, you can't deny that D-pad, which isn't the first iteration of a D-pad. That was from a Donkey Kong Game and Watch, I think, like the handheld Donkey Kong that came out.
Right.
That was the first D-pad, but it stayed this format forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, that D-pad's perfect,
Yeah.
if you
It's
ask
solid.
me.
No, it
It's
is really, really good. It's very
it's
easy to press. It's very responsive. Like
yeah.
they just completely. I mean, we don't use D-pads anymore, right? But
I do.
should have
It
been.
depends on what I'm playing.
Yeah, this should have been the format for every single D-pad to ever come out, right? I
Yeah.
feel like, especially okay. So if you're looking at it, I'm gonna put it tentative
Oh,
here.
that's
You
Super
can see
Nintendo.
the fact that it is raised.
You got the Super
Oh
Famicom.
yeah, sorry. Where is it at? Where is it at?
There it is, right next to 64.
Wait, okay, that. Oh yeah. The fact that it is like lower, right? But then it kind of just comes out a little bit at the ends. So it's got like a solid
Yeah,
um
yeah.
press down. I don't know exactly how to say that.
Well,
I
I mean
don't know
yeah.
why the buttons on this thing are so low though.
I'm trying to
I mean, I
see
guess it makes
if
sense.
that stayed that way. Yeah, I guess they are. I don't know.
It's been
Maybe
so
it's the
long
way
since I need like a
I have the classic NES over there, and I picked up that controller when we were filming one of our episodes, and I was like, God, this thing is just still so the like the buttons feel so good.
Yeah,
It was such a
they do buttons
standard.
very well. Yeah,
Yeah, I think B makes the most sense for that. Um, it was for a system where you only needed two buttons, and that's fine. And the style of D-pad and buttons has been carried on through systems, on and on and on. Like this is a pioneer of a controller.
it is.
Yeah,
Literally,
literally.
literally.
I don't know if I have too much to say about
So
it aside from
you're right.
the buttons that look like Smarties
And a little Smarties.
are nice and soft and clicky. Like still have
They
that
are
click, but
clicky.
they're still
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's
No,
nice.
there's definitely good click to it. As most Nintendo. Well, like you said, they do buttons really well. I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe the only thing lacking is the. Well, we'll get to it.
We'll
We'll
get
get
to
to
it.
it.
We'll get to it.
Um, what do we?
I like B for that. I don't know if I'd quite because I know some things that I would put above it. So I'm
Right.
comfortable with B for now.
Yeah.
Um, all right, your turn. Well,
So we're just gonna like flop around
yeah,
here.
why not?
Let's see. Original PS1 controller,
Okay, not the dual
non-dual
shock.
shock. Yeah, not the
Gotcha.
dual shock. Um, if
I'm not a fan.
yeah, like if Nintendo's D-pad is good, uh, PlayStation's has always been shit. It like literally takes form over function and makes it like little buttons.
It feels like
Um,
you're just smushing a thing that's not buttons.
yeah,
It's gotten better. Like I think the PS5's is fine. Not gonna sidetrack, but I do think the first iteration of this D-pad, it was
yeah,
like
that's like way different.
it was
But
just how you get a blister, basically, of just
I mean,
rubbing
and
this.
they kept it. They kept it. Throughout the years. I
Hey,
don't know
hey,
why.
hey, hey,
Mhm.
hey.
I just want to show
I know, I know.
that they decided to it. Well, I mean, I guess they added the analog sticks, and then from there they probably didn't really care. But yeah, for this it does make sense. Like playing on this is a hell of a lot better than playing on this.
Yeah, a couple things I can appreciate about this controller. Ergonomics. If you compare this to some other controllers of its time, like the 64,
Right.
this isn't insane. It's just, you
Yeah.
know, it's helping you out.
Yeah.
And
It's not bad.
I do like I like the PlayStation's face buttons. I think, yeah, it's just my memory. Oh, and don't forget even this one has two shoulder buttons on either side, right? You have
Yeah.
R1 and R2. So
I'm
it
pretty
brought
sure.
in the double shoulder buttons.
Oh,
That's a
it's
big
been a
deal.
while, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It has
Yeah.
to. It has to.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
it is a little small, but now that I think about it, it was it's obviously engineered for Japanese markets, so
yeah.
that's probably why.
The main thing I remember about this controller is everything feeling mushy.
Yeah,
Instead of that nice, satisfying, like responsive click, all the face buttons in the D-pad just felt like mushy.
I feel like PlayStation 2 was like that too. I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself again. Um, yeah,
I
I mean, so I feel like it's a C, right? It's not bad.
I'd put it in. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad. And I do like the scheme, like PlayStation introducing a different button combination that makes total sense to me. This like,
Right.
you know, cross,
Oh,
triangle, square,
yeah.
circle.
Oh,
That
I'll
will always
always
work with
love
my
that.
brain. Yeah,
Yeah. I find that to be so much um
more intuitive.
thematically, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Than
just like it
confusing
more.
us with the effing alphabet,
Yeah.
Microsoft and Nintendo. So you want to put it in C?
How dare you make me read? I mean,
We
is
can
it
put it
C? Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be well. Okay, so the Dual Shock is better, right?
the DualShock's automatically better.
So is the Dual Shock a B?
Do we want to do the DualShock right now since they're so close? I think we
Yeah,
should.
yeah, might
Okay.
as well. Yeah,
Um, I mean, the DualShock doesn't. I don't remember it quite having the same mushiness issues. Of course, this is all based on memory because I still can't remember the last time I held a DualShock One.
Right.
Um, I would say I would put DualShock One in C, and I'd put the pre-DualShock in D.
See,
Personally,
yeah.
that's just what I'm doing.
Um,
It can change.
no, I mean it's hard
No, it cannot
to
change.
no. I, now I forgot what I was thinking about. It's I guess it's hard to really think about the old controllers, but I think if we think about PlayStation controllers in general,
hmm
comfort comparably to something like uh, even an Xbox controller or something like that, it's not good. You know, like there's always been some. I love the controllers really.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know why, but I can't say they're as nearly as comfortable as even like a 360 controller or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I follow
And
that
it's
later, but
less ergonomic, right? Like
it
there is no
those
ergonomic.
for sure are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Duke isn't ergonomic for anybody unless you're a bear.
Yeah, I mean that's
Um
the only thing, it's huge.
yeah.
But
Yeah. All right.
but even still, it's kind of got these contours, right? And then,
Mhm.
this is a lot easier to deal with, and we're talking about over time and anybody who's like us and, uh 30 and older. This is a lot better and more comfortable than this will ever be.
Yeah, I mean especially the revised version
Yeah.
was. Okay. I'm going to pause cuz I have to pee.
Okay.
And then I'm going to grab a few controllers from my shelf.
Okay. Man.
Okay. Sorry.
That's fun.
Okay. I want to go with let's try. You know what? Let's do it. 64. Let's go. Nintendo 64.
I know a lot of people uh love this controller and I'm here to tell you that that is 100% um just your nostalgia talking, right?
You were a child. You were too young to understand why this is insane. Listen to this.
Oh yeah, I hate that. That thing burned a hole into my hand
Oh
playing
yeah,
Mario Party.
this
Yeah,
this
yep.
thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was really bad. I just remember it hurting. And that is just such an awful design.
The only there's a couple of things that I think were really ambitious and cool about this. Trigger underneath.
Yeah,
We have back paddles now. Clearly that was a good idea. And this, if you're using it with this hand, this
right,
doesn't feel too bad. This A B C button scheme, annoying as hell on every
right.
game. And it's annoying now because anytime you want to go back and play one of these games, it's so hard to emulate and map a controller. And GoldenEye is one of the main things. Like trying to map GoldenEye to a modern controller, this having been the thing, is crazy.
I it is 100% form over function.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
like the
trying to
fact
be
that
two
the
controllers at
central
once.
trigger. Yes, that's exactly what it's trying to do, and it just it doesn't actually work. Developers just made it work. Made their game work around that controller. So I mean, f.
Here's why I don't
Also,
think it's a failure.
well, also that weird thing where when the joysticks started to kind of go bad. I mean, it's old tech, right?
The
Um,
joysticks are garbage. They're bad.
yeah, and it started to get like that white stuff around it. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
even know how that happened, right? Yeah, and it would just start to feel very bad.
Well, it's also octagonal.
Yeah,
The joystick gate.
which makes sense for some arcade. I don't know if any original arcade sticks are all like 4 gate or octagonal, but
Yeah.
um depending on if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, Octagon would have been the thing for uh, fighting games and any sort of precision inputs that you might need that you would never need on a Nintendo 64.
It did introduce rumble packs,
It did. It did.
and that's pretty cool.
Well, Nintendo always does like
Some gimmick.
wacky and yeah, but at the same time groundbreaking things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then bringing like these innovations to a wider audience through being more affordable and stuff like that.
Is it a failure? Is it a total failure?
I mean, if this isn't a failure, then what is, right?
All right. I'll concede based on the fact that on this list, it's probably the worst controller.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, again, do you think it's not a failure just because of how much enjoyment you got out of playing games on Nintendo
I
64?
was gonna say it came in a bunch of transparent colors.
Yeah, I mean, so did everything. So did
Not
Apple's.
quite. Yeah, but this was video games. This is stuff that I had. I got a purple one over there too. That's badass. No, it is a failure of a controller. I don't know why they ever did it. Yes, I have nostalgia for it.
Right. Same.
But if I'm going back and playing 64, I do not want to have to use that controller.
I
So
can't in good conscience give that anything other than a failure because that's what it is, right?
that's
It's
fair.
just it doesn't function wholly as a controller like everything else.
It even has five buttons that are useless if you want to count the D-pad as four buttons.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah, because
did
it's
you ever play a
infeasible.
game with the L and D-pad buttons?
No,
I
no.
didn't.
You
Anyway.
basically couldn't.
Anyway, what next?
I did like the trigger though. You're right. Z
The trigger
trigger.
was cool. Yeah,
It's great.
it was
Um,
cool.
all right, what's next, folks?
It's your turn.
Okay. You know what? We'll just lead off to which is probably great Nintendo controller, which is GameCube, right?
Yeah.
GameCube now, okay, adding instead of because we still didn't have like dynamic cameras and just the simple idea of rotating your camera in every game or having the ability to rotate your camera in every
Yeah.
game. Um, let's move the C buttons onto its own little joystick.
It's called a
Great.
nipple.
Yeah. Fantastic. Felt good. Felt great. To be
For
honest.
certain stuff.
Yeah, for certain stuff.
I don't like it for, I mean, it sucks for camera control.
Yeah.
I mean, and no cameras were rigid back then. Um, I mean, it was okay in stuff like Smash Bros. When you had almost like macro attacks linked to it. That was pretty sick.
Right.
Um, but I do feel like this controller suffers the most from, it prioritizes these face buttons in their weird format,
Yeah.
which causes everything to kind of taper inward. And so this D-pad and C button aren't very versatile, even though they might work for certain games. And I do like a D-pad. I like a D-pad up here so I can use it as a D-pad, but for 3D games, I also like it to where I can use it for options. So that works for me.
Right.
And the triggers were awesome. I don't know.
It's like I didn't like how they actually were kind of ergonomic, right? They
And they got this
it feels
big,
good.
they
Yeah.
got this big like bevel in them, so your
And
finger very much sits
the
in there.
only thing that I don't like is how much it takes to kind of like press them in, right? Like there's a long distance where on the Xbox controller it feels good because it's like on a spring, not over time. But yeah, I feel like, there's a lot of time from you starting to press to it going all the way
It
down.
has a lot of travel,
Yeah, comparably to any other controller.
and it feels like they made that for a couple of games in mind.
Right.
Um, this is the last time Nintendo would put an analog trigger on their consoles.
Yeah.
The first and last time, which is very strange. Um, I I will say though, if we're talking about the Wavebird, that wireless implement, pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You put your little dongle in, you put it to the right frequency, and boom, you have a wireless controller. I remember that being I destroyed my first Wavebird because I used it so much.
That was yeah, I mean we're talking in a time where nothing was really wireless,
Yeah, yeah,
until like PlayStation 2 and
yeah.
DualShock, of course, but original Xbox controllers, no. And yeah, it did function really well. Kind of crazy when you think now that GameCube of all things was had the kind of the dominant sort of wireless third party controller.
Yeah, yeah. And even though the GameCube was a failure, they definitely it's a cool system. It's a cool controller. Unlike the 64, I look back on it fondly, even though I have issues with it. I would still play GameCube games with this today if I was,
Yeah.
say, emulating them and it was an easy enough process. So I feel like
Uh
I would put this in B.
you're right about the buttons though. They feel great.
They
They're like
do,
they
yeah.
feel like
Nintendo will always have
Nintendo,
good
yeah.
buttons.
Good
Yeah.
clicks. Um but yeah, the why are they spaced like that? I'll never know. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the B to me.
it's weird. It doesn't bother me mostly because if I'm not looking at the controller, I always know what button I'm pressing. But that doesn't mean some of them aren't weirdly spaced. Like the way I press B is with like the side of my thumb instead of it being like a button that you press down on. It's like you wind up just so I don't know. I feel like it didn't go through enough testing or something, but it's fine. It's good. It's B.
I feel like they wanted it to look wacky
They
just
wanted it to
because
look wacky.
yeah, because it's Nintendo.
If we're talking ergonomics though, that thing sits in your hand very well. I'm holding
Yeah.
it right now and it's still comfortable.
Yeah, I think the only thing with any actually analog uh, buttons, trigger buttons, I over time those start to get hard to use.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
right, just pressing that down constantly. But I mean, I'm not gonna knock it for that. It
They're
it
not
is
too bad.
probably the most ergonomic uh thing Nintendo has ever come out with.
Well, I have one that probably beats it, but we'll get there. Um,
Well,
oh
yeah,
yeah, and you know what?
yeah.
I almost want to dock it a point for the main analog stick being in an octagonal gate. That pisses me off. That's so unnecessary, but whatever. I guess it's good for stuff like Smash Bros.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. Makes me mad.
It
I'm going to pick a handheld now, and I'm gonna go with the Game Boy, the original Fat Man,
the Fat Man.
the D DG. I don't know. I can't remember I think this one's pretty simple. It's kind of, you know, it's very much the NES button layout. I think the original Game Boy benefited from, if we're just talking about a controller's perspective, I feel like it benefited ergonomically from being a little wider. I don't know if the last time you picked up like a Game Boy Pocket or something, but your hands are very
Yeah,
very close together. And in this one, there was at least some space. And again,
right.
those buttons are fantastic.
Same
And that deep,
concept of with like phones and any sort of tech from this time period. Things got smaller and smaller and smaller, and then they
yep.
were like, "That's not good," and
Now
then
they're getting bigger and bigger and
bigger and bigger.
bigger.
Yeah. So for what is, I think yeah, it was solid. It had to be that big because
Yeah.
there's no way they could possibly ever make it smaller. But it worked out because even though the thing is like heavy, it's perfectly comfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
For what it is.
Just realizing the Game Boy Color isn't on this list, which is weird.
Yeah,
So I guess we're just having to do Game Boys all in one. And if that's the case, the Game Boy Color control scheme, the only downside it would have would be smaller and the problem
right.
I just referenced. So, but it was still
Better,
a
probably.
pocketable Game Boy.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like
From a controller's perspective, it is arguably worse, but
right.
that's all context. So I would put this in B right next to the NES.
Me too, right? It's just functional. There's nothing wrong with that at all
And
that
that
I can
color
really think of.
scheme, mwah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been a fan of it, but
I love it. I
I
think
know.
it's great.
I don't knock anybody for liking it, but oddly enough, I like more vibrant things.
Well, I do too, but there's something when I think retro that kind of just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
That
super
that it
retro.
is quintessential retro for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Okay. What next?
So, I just realized it's on here and I didn't even think about it before. I probably should have done this first. You probably would have expected me to do this first. And that's going to be the old Sega Genesis controller.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Can we talk about the boomerang shape?
Um, it's like I don't I don't really understand why. Because I mean, technically, this is an attempt to be more ergonomic, right? More
I
contoured
guess, yeah.
to how we actually hold things as opposed to a square box.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so it makes more sense, but
It
without
curves a little too much.
yeah, and well, without it like really jutting out like other controllers,
Mm-hmm.
it's like got little nubbies.
It does have little nubbies. Now, I don't know about
And I
you,
guess they
but
wanted it to be like star shaped. I don't know.
yeah, there was one thing that I was never able to. It always messed with me. The three buttons being in a straight, like a well, I guess a diagonal row.
Yeah.
That never computed with my brain.
Did we
It
ever even use the outer one though? I don't
some
remember.
games, I guess, I don't know. A lot of Genesis games, I think, tried to implement that. From all the emulation I've done, it's not very common.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Sega CD implemented that a little bit more.
I feel like they had it
And there
there
was a
just because
six
they were
button
like,
controller.
hey, the Nintendo, it's only got 2 buttons. We got three.
Right. And then with the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, eventually had a six button controller because
Yeah.
Sega was always about hardware modifications
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
the three buttons never, it always messed with me. And the same about the D pad that is kind of on a swivel. It doesn't, like that
Oh,
D pad is kind of a circular
it's
swivel motion.
awful. It is awful. Well, it's like an early implementation of a joystick, right?
Arcade, like an arcade stick, maybe.
Yeah, but that it does not work. It's not good, right? Okay.
So we
If you
think,
need to do like diagonal
yeah.
back then for any reason, sure, that's great. That's way better than trying to press up and forward or down and forward or back or what have you, both at the
Hmm.
same time. Now I can actually just do more of like a diagonal thing, but
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, again, it never really felt too good to
So we
play.
thinking CD? I don't know. I remember the buttons
It's
feeling pretty
it was
good.
like okay, yeah,
Yeah.
the buttons do feel pretty good.
I feel like it's I feel like this about has the shortcomings of the first PlayStation controller,
Yeah,
which is crazy considering that was a almost a generation past
yeah.
or
Well,
it was a generation past.
they don't learn much seemingly from their predecessors. I don't know. Well, even I would say the original PlayStation felt a little bit better, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This was kind of like oblong and
Oblong.
oblong, and this always sit well in your hands. Like it made sense. Like you're sitting there, but it's just had you know, its own shortcomings, like the D-pad. Both of these,
Yeah,
both of these,
yeah, I agree.
more innovative, kind of, but not quite there.
Yeah.
They should have thought of the joystick first.
Yeah.
It would have blew people's minds.
PlayStation 2.
PS2,
I have one of those as well.
fine, maybe a little too weighty, right?
Mm, not
I don't
really.
remember.
No, this feels pretty damn light.
Sturdy,
It had rumble,
yeah.
and so there was some rumble going on but this was I think the first example of including it within the controller. Um,
Does it have the
D-pad.
like rubberized? It's been so long. It does it have like the rubberized thumbsticks? Is that what?
Yeah, they have
Like
nice rubber
coated?
thumbsticks. They click in, so you got the
Yeah.
R3 L3. No analog triggers. D-pad still feels kind of like a mushy. I mean, this is an old controller person. Like
Right.
this is from my PlayStation 2 days. But
Great longevity. Yeah.
the buttons feel good. They weirdly feel more spaced out compared to like a PlayStation 5 controller. Like the buttons feel like they have space in between them, and I don't know if that's true or if I don't know.
I don't know, PlayStation 5 is kind of just way different. All
I,
right.
s- yeah, yeah, it is. And I have a lot to say about that controller, but I feel like the PlayStation 2 for me was just such a step up controller
Right.
because the PlayStation 2 is what I got after the 64. And so at that time, that was the best controller to date. It
Yeah.
everything just is where it's supposed to be. It feels good enough. It works for every game you could possibly imagine. And it's kind of been the benchmark if, moving forward. And I think that's why the design has not shifted exponent
Much.
like
Yeah.
much. I think PlayStation 2 is at least B.
I need to like grab my PlayStation 2 controller. It's back there somewhere. But
I
Yeah,
would put it in B. It's not worse than the GameCube.
no, no,
If
absolutely
anything, it
not.
might be
Right?
better than the GameCube.
It might be an A. I,
Yeah,
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I
I don't
want to
know.
say there's always been something that's like maybe it's just like a little too close together. But then, yeah, I mean, I think PlayStation 2 comparatively to the 3 was a little bit more out.
I like the if if we are going to knock this because they're so similar, but
Right. It's
I
extremely.
think PlayStation 3 goes below PlayStation 2.
Yeah, me too.
One,
Yeah.
they didn't change anything except for
And
six
honestly,
axis.
I mean, again, I couldn't tell you the ergonomics, but something about just this flat design, right? Like from both of these,
Okay, wait, you
they
got
feel.
place. That's PlayStation 3.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, this
Place.
PlayStation 3. Yeah, no, no, I'm talking about. So we're talking about PlayStation 2 and PS1. They're kind of like okay, they have the nice rounded handles, how they should be, and then
Mm-hmm.
it comes up and it's flat, like how it sits in your hand. You know,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
like okay, if we're looking, I'll bring it up here really quick. If we're looking at the PlayStation, it's no longer like that. It's like it's not curved at the end. It's just straight, like
Mm-hmm.
every other controller. And I liked how this was,
Yeah, for sure.
and this was. I don't even
Mhm.
know if this was like it so much. I don't remember.
I'm realizing now I don't know that the PlayStation 2 controller is on here because I'm pretty
What
sure
is
the
that?
black one, I think that's the PlayStation 3. And I think
Oh,
PlayStation
is
2,
that the?
I don't know. We didn't
Oh, I
make
don't remember.
we didn't make this tier list. Let's just use the Dual
No,
Shock.
because PlayStation
Well, then three's missing from here. If
3 in all. Wait. What has the? Oh man, yeah. Wait, that's confusing. I don't know. I
I
don't.
don't
I
think
don't know.
PlayStation 2 is on here unless whoever made this list is using the Dual Shock as the
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 counterpart, but it was never gray. So let's just use the DualShock as the PlayStation 2, since essentially it was the same thing. DualShock 2 had rumble and was a
Yeah.
little. So I would put the
Well,
DualShock in B, and I would drop PlayStation 3 six axis down to C.
are we really saying that's much different than the than 2
I'm
ever was?
saying I'm saying six axis is garbage. And they deserve a point off for doing that.
Wait, which was the I don't remember.
Yeah, so that would be the PlayStation 3 one. I would put
Right.
that in C for not
Okay.
changing anything and for um, adding six axis, but we can also
Oh,
keep
is
it in
that when
B.
they had the like
Yeah,
the
the little
yeah.
and it
Yeah,
actually made some games worse.
right.
So
Because it didn't really work that well.
I think that should work against it.
They were trying to do some they were trying to like get on some of that Nintendo wackiness, like PlayStation
Yeah.
always does, right?
Yeah.
Like we've
Yeah.
already talked about, like what does PlayStation Studios do? They make games that are like other popular games.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, not anymore. They've it seems like they've largely abandoned that quest to
except for the foam
ape.
game that they have coming out instead of
Oh,
ink, the foam game.
damn it.
Yeah, you forget about that one.
I did.
Still, I like the design. I feel like that was good. They completely abandoned that moving forward, but hey, whatever.
Which one?
Just the overall
Oh, yeah.
contoured handle,
Mm,
flatter main, flatter with the like a slight curve at the end, right?
yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Uh,
Uh,
I
what's
don't know.
next?
You know,
What do you want to look at next?
I don't remember if the PlayStation 2 had that or not,
I don't know.
but
I
PlayStation 1 definitely did. So,
yeah.
and PlayStation 3 had it.
Mm-hmm.
So, probably.
4 was the first big shift in the shell
Yeah.
change.
None of those too bad. Okay. What's next? The worst. Well,
What
I
is
don't know
that?
about the Vita. Well, yeah, I have no clue about the Vita, but
Oh, is
the
that the
original
PSP?
PSP, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got.
This thing
I,
hurt my hands as a child.
yeah, you're right.
As a as like a 14-year-old, this thing was killing my hands. I
It
don't
definitely went for a sleek, you know, uh, elegant look,
yeah,
which
it looked cool, right?
it's
Yeah.
pretty as hell. But yeah, you
This
got
thing
that
was
deep.
like a Porsche, of handhelds.
It it's hard to say it's a failure because it really did feel like a handheld PlayStation. Aside from like the D-pad was still the D-pad, but I remember the D-pad feeling better on the PSP than it did on the controllers. Now,
It
what sucked balls was that freaking nub.
little nubby. Yeah.
Those are never good.
Kudos for trying to put something like that,
Well, they still wanted it to be pocketable,
yeah, and making it pocketable, right?
but it sucked.
Yeah, but it wasn't good. That's part of the reason why like it would hurt, right? Especially since
Hmm.
it was like way too like this, So you're like messing around with this tiny nub. Your
Yeah,
thumb's like
yeah,
way too far over to the edge. Uh the L and R's were great though, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
And then
Little like clicky, nice
yeah,
shoulder buttons.
nice good
I
click.
I would put this in D, but you played it more than I did, so
I
I'll let it be your call.
It's been a while, but yeah, I just feel like it just wasn't good, right? Like it was like okay, the PSP was not bad, but its controller scheme was not that
It
good, right?
The nub is
Right?
pretty garbage, I will admit.
I mean, again, if I'm having an issue playing your system for more than an hour, especially as a younger adult or
Hmm.
teenager or anything, there's a problem there.
Yeah, yeah,
And that did not go through enough testing, you
yeah.
know? Um, the Vita might have been better just because maybe it was a smaller form factor, right? More
No,
contour.
The Vita feels pretty good. I mean, the thumbsticks are very small, but there's two of them, and they're actual thumbsticks.
Yeah.
The Vita's got a great form factor.
I feel like I've never played one myself, but it always looked like much better. I did always like the
I'd put the
more,
Vita. I think I would put the Vita in like B.
yeah. I feel like this they tried to just do like a more, like a more PlayStation, squared edges.
It's
Um,
yeah, angular
yeah,
little thing.
like the mid-century modern of portable devices,
Yeah,
and they didn't want to be like anybody else um at the time period. But then this they decided like, okay, well, like a lot of these other systems coming out have these designs because they make more sense.
true.
um I don't know what Nintendo did. They've like backtracked a little bit.
Well,
Are we putting the
um,
Vita somewhere?
we
I don't know.
do we what?
Are we putting the Vita somewhere now? I'm confused.
We might as well, since it's so
Yeah.
close to the PSP. I would put it in B, but I could see C happening too because the thumbsticks aren't great, but it's a
Only because
good,
I've never like have you played it? I
hmm
don't know. Yeah. So
but not a
I've
lot.
never played
So I'd say we can put it in C then.
it. Yeah.
Now here's the question: we're past an hour. Should
Maybe
we
our
make?
dear listeners can tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Should we make a part two of this? Maybe return to judge the rest of these controllers.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, because
You
yeah,
want
we're
to cut
past.
this part off and just go ahead
Yeah,
and that's
give
it,
them
folks.
give them something to look forward to.
Yeah.
No, I mean we could still, yeah, we'll release this as part one, and then we'll return to figure out the rest of the controllers. But as it stands, this is what
Yeah.
we got, and
This just wasn't good. I'm thinking it's like, well,
really wants the PSP,
was
and
it really that bad? Yeah.
you're the cutthroat of the group. I'm always like,
Yeah, come on.
he
It
was
wasn't that
trying his
bad.
he was trying
This
his
is
best.
yeah.
There's so many of my favorites in here that I want to get to, but we will do that next time.
He was a deadbeat and abusive, Quinn.
Okay, that's enough proof for me. Put it below F.
Yeah. Cool that it could play its own movies, though. That was awesome.
That was
Like,
cool.
yeah,
They
I
only
don't even know.
cost like twice as much as a game.
Right.
Some of
Still,
them.
I mean, for that time, that's like, sure, if you had a nice laptop or something, I mean, portable DVD players.
Hey,
Oh,
that
was
was
that
the.
even a thing? I don't know.
I remember.
Something like that.
I remember watching Kill Bill in the back of your car on that thing. I
I
don't. I
I
don't know how
know.
we both watched a movie on one PSP, but we did it.
We did it. Where there was a will, there was a way.
Exactly. All right, folks, that's it for this week. Tune in next time to see us go over the rest of the controllers. Please go watch the Castlevania retrospective episode we just posted a couple days ago. That one, our retrospective takes a good bit of work, so we appreciate any love you can give. Please let us know if you have any other topics you'd like us to discuss on this here podcast. You can send questions to thenerdinggrounds@gmail.com. Thanks, and have a great week and or weekend. Be kind to everyone.